could you just say your name, your date of birth and where you are?
Yeah, my name's Levi Bellfield. I'm currently at HMP Wakefield.
Levi Bellfield, one of the most notorious killers of our times.
Levi Bellfield was one of the most dangerous predators of women that this country has ever seen.
From a suspected serial killer at large.
If we don't apprehend this person, someone else is going to die.
To a convicted murderer of 2 women and schoolgirl Milly Dowler.
Nothing prepares you for that. Why Milly? Why on that day?
In this film, we go into new detail about Bellfield's dark past.
I was confronted with a paedophile gang operating in Hillingdon and that was hidden in plain sight.
It's going on and on and on. Where does this end? But it all began at the same beginning.
It was like this massive web was appearing.
We hear women's voices, ignored until now.
They were drugged with GHB, Hypnol, and they were used as these objects.
And with attacks on women never far from the headlines, we ask, how does a violent offender like Bellfield go undetected for so long?
We were just target practice for him to go out and do the real thing.
And we hear from the cold-blooded killer, who thought he'd never get caught.
I've never been convicted of anything. Well, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, isn't it?
It's a story of secret files.
I got hold of a police intelligence file. There were a total of 24 violent attacks on women. Many of those women didn't know that Bellfield was a suspect.
And a man who seemed to get a kick from keeping everyone guessing.
Well, I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is this. But what I will say is this.
After the tragic death of Milly Dowler, it took 9 years to bring her killer to justice.
Did you, Levi Bellfield, have anything to do with the kidnap and murder of Milly Dowler?
No comment.
In sleepy Walton-on-Thames, Milly Dowler disappeared in broad daylight. Police struggled for leads. It later emerged that journalists and investigators working for the News of the World were hacking her phone, throwing the investigation into more confusion. Months later, Milly's body was found, not by police, but by members of the public. And years later, her killer was only caught when a different police force, investigating him for other crimes, realised that Milly disappeared a stone's throw from where he was living at the time. For 9 years, police had missed him, despite claims that as many as 93 historic complaints had been made to police about him. And despite a report of an attempted abduction the day before Milly disappeared. But finally, in 2011, Levi Bellfield, a multiple killer described as devious and dangerous, was convicted of Milly's abduction and murder. Bellfield is told he will never be released from prison. The quiet suburbs of London where he killed can sleep easy with him behind bars.
There is no doubt that he would have gone on to offend. He would have killed more women and he would never, ever have stopped.
Levi Bellfield grew up not far from where Milly Dowler lived. And there are some who believe he got an early taste for killing.
Hounslow Heath here, this could actually be the location of Levi Bellfield's first killing.
In 1980, a violent crime took place that stunned the local community.
For 40 years, I was a crime reporter on Fleet Street. I'll never forget this case.
Patsy Morris was a 14-year-old schoolgirl from Isleworth.
Patsy had gone to school that morning without a raincoat. She sat in her wet clothes all morning and then told her friends she was going to pop home at lunchtime and change into some dry clothes.
Patsy never made it home.
A large-scale search was instigated, involved hundreds of police officers, Members of the public joined in. 48 hours later, tragically, her body was found here, lying in some undergrowth, and it turned out that the cause of death was strangulation, and in fact the murder weapon, what had been used to throttle her, was a pair of women's tights.
Bellfield's childhood friend Michelle remembers that fateful day.
Scary, it's because you're over Houser Heath playing, and the areas you're playing at, some girl just not far from where you're playing was killed. So it's very scary, because you don't know who's out there, who's watching, who's ready to pounce.
Patsy's killer was never found. To this day, the case remains unsolved.
Patsy was only 14 and she went to a local school called Feltham Comprehensive School. And by an interesting coincidence, also a pupil at that school, who she knew personally, was Levi Bellfield. He was always playing truant. One of the places he used to frequent when he should have been in school and he was bunking off was, in fact, Hounslow Heath.
Yeah, Levi didn't go to school that day.
Bellfield knew her, that's a fact. He saw her every day, that's a fact. She was murdered close to where they both lived, that's a fact. Bellfield's always denied it, and the case remains officially unsolved as far as Scotland Yard are concerned. I sit here now, 40 years on, what on earth really did happen? And knowing what we know now about Levi Bellfield, from time to time, very young children are capable of committing absolutely horrendous acts.
Levi wasn't questioned at the time. I hope it weren't him. If it was, just own up to it. But I hope to God it weren't him.
But if it was, just how did a child become a killer?
I used to live in the flats. Levi Bellfield was my neighbour. He lived opposite in the house. We could easily see each other from the house and from the flat without a problem. I just got on well with him. We just clicked. We just get on really well. He was a little lad, little boy, and that very skinny little runt, basically. He was the smallest out of everybody. We weren't allowed to play with each other, but we did. We went behind their backs as we did. Eventually, my mum didn't want me to play with him at all. He weren't allowed to come over, so I used to always sneak over to there.
Levi Bellfield was born on the 17th of May 1968 in Isleworth, West London.
By all accounts, he had a great childhood, a very loving family, very close-knit family. Never wanted for anything, and they all looked out for each other.
But when Bellfield was only 8, his father died. And something within the family unit changed.
His mum, she was the matriarch of the family. She was in control of the family. So, as with all that kind of family, her word was law.
And Levi became the apple of his mother's eye.
It seemed that he had an extremely, and I mean extremely, close relationship with his mother.
Oh, God, yeah. Her precious little soldier. You wouldn't do anything wrong.
It does seem really quite indulgent and putting him on a bit of a pedestal so that, he felt that he was beyond reproach.
Local children traded on rumours about Levi Bellfield.
He used to get bullied a lot around here. He used to have some little rabbits in the back of the garden in his shed. It got put about then that he was fucking a rabbit, and that people used to torment him badly. They proper tormented him about that. Oh, you fuck rabbits, you're an animal fucker and all this lot. Sometimes he used to really be upset about it. He wouldn't want to come out. It's always stuck in people's head about the rabbit. He hated it.
In his early years, the combination of his mother's indulgence, but at the same time feeling a bit of an outsider with his peers, and maybe feeling a bit different. That combination of feeling that the world is against you, but being made to feel that you're special, well, maybe that can sometimes lead people to great things. But with Bellfield, his efforts were channeled into a very destructive and self-centred form of activity.
Levi Bellfield was only 13 when police became aware of him. Jeff Edwards is a veteran crime correspondent.
Bellfield, from a young age, was a prolific, local criminal. He was a serial nuisance to the police in that he was a car thief and he was, constantly in scrapes with the law over one thing or another.
It was like, you're naughty, you do things that aren't right, but you're mischievous, that's who you are. One of the things that Bellfield's grandparents used to say was this motto that they had, which is God is good, but the devil ain't so bad.
We may never know who killed Patsy Morris. But if Bellfield was involved, it wouldn't be the last time he'd kill. In summer 2004, Bellfield was wheel clamping and dealing drugs. He had become used to getting his own way, controlling everyone around him.
He was the dominant one there, his little car camping crew. Levi was always the boss, and fear, basically. They were scared of him. He was violent, he had a temper, and could talk his way out of anything. It was by fear. That's the way he ruled them. That's the way he treated his associates.
Pete Rodriguez, his flatmate and friend at the time, was trying to escape his clutches.
He would be a person who a character of Bellfield could take advantage of. Not necessarily anybody, he wouldn't be vulnerable to everybody in the world, but someone that Bellfield was easily able to manipulate.
It was Levi's ex-girlfriend, Johanna Collins, who offered Pete a way out.
Pete couldn't put up with all the shit anymore. Didn't want to be there, didn't want to be around it. So, unbeknownst to Levi, he was moving into my house. Just not as anything else, but as friends, until he found somewhere else.
But before he could move out, Pete got into an argument with Bellfield. It was over drugs that Bellfield had allegedly hidden at Pete's mother's flat while she was in hospital. Pete called Joe.
Pete said, I'm leaving now. He said he's fucking kicking off and going mental. He said, I'll be round in about 20 minutes. And then I actually heard Levi in the background screaming and shouting. And then the phone went dead. And I never heard from Pete again until the police rang me and said, did I know Pete Rodriguez? And I said, yeah, why? And they said, well, he's in intensive care, he died 3 times. He was attacked with a hammer.
Pete was unconscious in hospital, fighting for his life. The vicious assault put him in a coma that would last 6 weeks. During that time, police questioned Bellfield, but he denied attacking Pete. With no evidence to charge him, he was free to go.
Peter firmly believed that Bellfield was the one that hit him over the head, and I don't think it could ever be proved. It wasn't ever proved. He was never charged with it. But I think Bellfield was behind him when he was walking down the stairs, and it's the last thing he remembers, so he may well be right about his assumption.
If it was Bellfield who had carried out the vicious attack on his friend Peter, he was behaving more recklessly. He had murdered Milly Dowler and got away with it. He had killed Marsha McDonnell with a hammer and got away with it. And he had carried out at least one other violent attack and would later be linked to more. Was Bellfield starting to believe he was untouchable?
Things can escalate as a person realises that he can get away with things, that he's capable of things, he's overcome any inhibitions about doing certain things. Sometimes what was gratifying before loses its appeal, and he needs to take it further in order to obtain the sense of excitement or power.
For Bellfield, power and control over others was everything.
When I first knew Levi, I was probably 18, 19 maybe. And everyone knew him anyway because he had a reputation in the area as a Jack the Lad, and a hard nut and, someone that would always help you out if you got into trouble.
Levi had found the perfect world where he could flex his muscles and exert control. Britain, club culture went mainstream in the 1990s. For the hordes of teenagers queuing up to get in, the bouncer held all the power. It was a job that suited Bellfield down to the ground.
He loved the job of being a bouncer. You could even have the ugliest, smelliest bouncer. As long as they're a bouncer, all the girls like them. Anywhere's a hunting ground, a nightclub. You think all them hundreds of women and girls in there. That's like full on, that's like just putting a cattle market, isn't it? Herding them all together and just having your pick.
And Joe fell under his spell.
He was a very, very good-looking guy. He didn't look anything like he looked now. He was well-built, always had nice cars, always had money, always dressed well. He had the full package.
Through hours of interviews with Joe and another girlfriend, Emma Mills, Detective Sue Day saw exactly how Bellfield manipulated and controlled the women in his life.
I think Levi was very clever in picking up on people's vulnerabilities and taking advantage of that. And that was definitely something that I saw in his relationship with both Emma and Joanna. So they take you in like that, make you think you're the best thing in the world, and romance you and all of that, so you fall for them. And then they change and they show their true colours.
You had all the presents and flowers and always looked after you. No indication that he was violent at the beginning at all. None whatsoever.
That illusion was shattered when one day Bellfield snapped.
First time he really hit me, and he was so sorry, and he said he felt really bad, and it was because he loved me and he didn't love anyone like he was in love with me. And you do believe it. And all these people that say, why didn't you leave them? Why didn't you go? It's not that easy. You can't. And before you know it, you're in so deep, you can't get out. Consent didn't mean anything to him. If he wanted it, he took it. Whether you said yes or no, what he wanted, he took. No one will ever understand the feeling of when you come round and he's on top of you, beating the shit out of you, raping you. You just, there's no words that can explain it. Sometimes I suppose you felt like it was happening to someone else, almost along the lines of an out-of-body experience. Years it went on, years. Forever, goes on forever. If you wanted to break it down, you could say it's what horror films are made of.
Behind closed doors, Bellfield's abuse of his partners wasn't just physical.
It seems there was a real edge of cruelty and wanting to humiliate. I think there was one occasion when he got a partner to sit on a stool in the kitchen and she wasn't allowed to move from it for hours, even though, of course, she needed to go to the toilet. And it was as if he was just trying to show that she was completely helpless and worthless. If anything, it seemed to affirm his belief that he could be powerful, that he could behave dreadfully with impunity.
It quickly became apparent how dangerous and violent Bellfield was and could be. And it made you wonder if he's capable of doing that within his home and within a relationship and have shown no remorse. What else is he capable of? What else has he done?
Just a week before the assault on his friend Pete, Bellfield is once again prowling the streets in his car. Meanwhile, teenager Kate Sheedy is out celebrating her last day in school before her A-levels begin. Then, after midnight, police receive an extraordinary 999 call. A young woman has been run over. The caller is Kate Sheedy.
And where does it hurt? Everywhere. The car stopped and took me out. Yeah. But then me again. She ran over me. He ran over you again? Yeah. He ran over you twice? Yeah. And I really hurt.
Former Metropolitan Police Detective Gary Cunningham investigated the events of that night.
Kate had been drinking with friends in Twickenham. She got on board the H22 bus and made her way home to here in Isleworth. As she's walking down there, she becomes suspicious of what she describes as a white people carrier with blacked-out windows. And something about it wasn't right, so she crossed the road to avoid the vehicle. She was crossing the road and the vehicle just swung round, hit her, and then Kate was obviously underneath the vehicle. The vehicle then went into reverse, reversed off, and then made off. And Kate was left for dead in the road. It's horrific, isn't it? It's your parents' worst nightmare.
Kate Sheedy survived her ordeal. Just. The 999 call had saved her life. At the same time, police had another unsolved case on their desks. This victim was not so lucky.
Here on Priory Road, where this brutal attack happened, people have been coming throughout the day to lay flowers and pay tribute to Marsha McDonnell. This is a community in shock, but also fearful. They know the police are mystified by this attack and that whoever killed Marsha remains at large.
This is a complete mystery. We're completely open-minded. We don't know what the motive is. If we could find the motive, it would take us one step closer to solving the crime.
Then, in August 2004, French student Milly Dowler was murdered on Twickenham Green, just 3 miles from where Marsha McDonnell was found. The 3 cases had striking similarities. 3 women of a similar age. All of them had blonde hair. And all of them were assaulted at night after getting off a bus. 3 attacks within 5 miles of each other in 18 months.
The chances of more than one individual operating in the same area in the same way are, quite frankly, beyond belief.
And the information that led police to Bellfield came from close to home.
Apparently it was my statement that led them to him and started the ball rolling. So this is my statement. Johanna's ex-boyfriend, who she lived with, was a male called Levi Bellfield. According to Johanna, Levi hates blonde women, and when he left 7 years ago, she found in the garage a black biggish coat that had the pocket cut out on the inside. This was where a knife and balaclava were hidden. There was also a Cosmopolitan magazine where all the blonde women inside had had their faces stabbed. I've referred to it before as his rape kit. I knew he hated blondes anyway, because he used to tell me all the time. And I don't know what he had about blondes or whatever, but he just had this pure hatred for them.
Bellfield was arrested and charged.
It was a really bizarre feeling when I first found out he'd been arrested, because for years he's always been involved in my life. He drove past my house constantly, rang me, was always involved in some aspect of my life. And I think that's another mind control and another situation of the fact that he was so controlling and so influential and powerful in my life. To feel really actually vulnerable that he's not about, it's massive mind games.
In 2008, Levi Bellfield was found guilty of the murders of Milly Dowler and Marsha McDonnell, and the attempted murder of Kate Sheedy, who gave evidence at his trial.
Of course, I will never be able to forget what happened to me. The scars on my body and the memories I have are something I will never be rid of, but hopefully I can move on.
Kate also spoke out about the families of the girls who didn't survive Bellfield's cruelty.
I hope that this verdict helps bring some comfort to all those families that have been affected by the despicable actions of just one man.
But Bellfield's actions reached much further than anyone realised. As police delved into his past, they made a dramatic discovery. Bellfield had once lived just yards from another notorious crime scene.
The Milly Dowler case, I'd say, is probably one of the biggest murder investigations this country's ever seen. You know, and it never left public consciousness.
A young David Collins dreamed of a career on Fleet Street. And, aged only 26, the ambitious trainee grabbed his chance at the Daily Mirror.
When Bellfield was convicted, I'd have been a junior reporter in a newsroom, and I was reading things in the papers about how Levi Bellfield was now in the frame, potentially for Milly Dowler, that he was the police's prime suspect. I was sitting in the newsroom one day, and at a paper like The Mirror, you are constantly getting telephone calls from members of the public, people with tip-offs about stories they want you to look at. And that day, I got a phone call to my desk, and it was from a member of the public, and they said that they had a story. And what became clear to me was that the driving force behind that story was Levi Bellfield.
This go-between on the phone was a direct link to Bellfield, and for Collins, this could be the big break he'd been waiting for.
I spoke to the go-between and I said, do you think Levi Bellfield would be interested in doing an interview with me? A couple of days later, I get the call, yes, Levi Bellfield wants to do an interview.
But David Collins was going to have to work for it. Even from behind bars, Bellfield was in total control. He wanted the attention from the media, but first, he needed to put Collins to the test.
I got a phone call at 10:30 from Bellfield's friend saying, you have to go to this block of flats now. You have to be there in the next hour because Bellfield has a package for you waiting and he wants you to pick it up. And that's all I knew. I had to make a decision. Do I go to this block of flats in South London and pick up this package, or do I not? I knew for a fact, if I spoke to my editors at the paper, they were going to say, no, you can't do it. It's 10:30 at night. You know, it could be a trap. Was Bellfield trying to set me up? Was this some sort of revenge for everything that the media had written about him? Was he luring me in to get beaten up, or who knows what? So I turned up to the block of flats in a part of South London that I didn't know. It was just before midnight, knocked on the door, and then the door opened, and it was a kind of smoke-filled room with Bellfield's family and friends in there.
Collins was handed a parcel containing photographs of Bellfield and a handwritten letter from the man himself.
It was about 12 pages going into why he was innocent of Marcia, of Amelie, of the attempted murder on Kate Sheedy, how it was all a set-up by the police.
Collins knew then why Bellfield was willing to do an interview.
Levi's main motivation was that he wanted to exonerate himself in the eyes of the public. He wanted to use me as his platform to tell the public I'm innocent.
Collins had passed Bellfield's first test. The next hurdle was to win over Bellfield's family.
Bellfield's brother, Richard, introduced me to Bellfield's mother. And really, that was the key. Bellfield's mother was the absolute matriarch of that family. She was the one who I needed to convince. And she wanted to meet me. So it was almost like being summoned by, you know, the big decision maker in Bellfield's family.
Collins started visiting the family home, slowly winning the trust of Bellfield's mother, Jean.
I was having roast beef sandwiches with Jean, and then the phone call came in, and Levi's brother picked up the phone, and it was Levi on the other end of the phone. And I said, would Levi talk to me? Because Levi wanted to do it, and because I'd met Jean, and I think she quite liked me, they agreed.
But there was one last demand from the Bellfield clan, a signed statement that Collins would act only in Levi's best interests.
I just had to make a decision right there and then. Do I sign this piece of paper and therefore get access to Levi Bellfield and interview him about Milly Dowler for the first time ever? At the time, even the police had managed to do that. So I knew this was the first chance, really, of asking him, where were you on the day?
To seal the deal, Collins signed, and the interview with a serial killer was on.
Could you just say your name, your date of birth and where you are?
Yeah, my name's Levi Bellfield. I'm currently at HMP Wakefield.
Okay, and your date of birth, is that? Could you just say that as well?
170568.
The stakes were high. The authorities were desperate to hear anything Bellfield might give away about Milly Dowler.
All his prison calls were being bugged at the time by the prison service and by the police. And you could actually hear the clicking on the phone as, you know, they're tapping into the call.
He was just misrepresenting the call. So, you're hanging.
And I remember hearing it and thinking, my God, it's like being in a movie. I had the entire family around me, listening and watching every single thing I was doing. So to be in that room with all those people around me, with a serial killer on the other end of the phone.
I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm just going to go through it all quickly, so you probably won't ask me any questions, but I think I might cover it. You with me?
And the way he talks to you, he tries to almost control the conversation. He has these kind of affectations like, are you with me?
None of it was facts. You with me? Yeah. And I don't want to print that. You with me?
He's almost like trying to kind of shape and control you.
As expected, Bellfield used the phone call to protest his innocence.
What about any of the victims' families?
You can't hold me responsible for their closure. I cannot be that because I'm innocent.
Do you feel like you've been made a scapegoat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Collins refused to lose sight of his goal, to get Bellfield on Milly Dowler. A red Daewoo car had been seen in the vicinity of Milly's abduction. Police knew that Bellfield had use of a similar car that day. But crucially, could they prove it was him driving on camera?
I knew if he admitted that, it was huge.
To catch Bellfield off guard, Collins casually mentioned the red car.
Yeah. Okay. Have you on the Daewoo car that you know that you were supposed to drive? Was it the Nexia? Is that right? Is that what you were?
Believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Just the CCTV, the police are saying that these, and you know all this anyway. I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
No, cool.
The CCTV from where Milly was snatched, they picked up a Daewoo car, a red one.
Well, yeah, go on.
Similar to yours.
That one was the last question that I asked him about the red Daewoo car. That day when Milly disappeared, the red Daewoo car that is pulling onto Station Avenue half an hour after Milly disappeared. And I will never forget to this day him saying this to me.
If you look on the imagery of that vehicle pulling out,
yeah,
it's very low to the ground, isn't it? Now I say that's on the floor because it's loaded up with tiles, which I was buying in Shepperton at the time,
Yeah.
So the kitchen and tools. You'll see that the back seats are actually down.
So, showing that there's a lot of building equipment in there.
Yes. If the police were going to try and interpret that, oh, you had someone in the car, in the passenger seat, you had someone, you know, you abducted someone and you had them in that car.
It was your car, but basically it was full of stuff.
I'm not going to comment on whether it was or it wasn't, But I mean, it doesn't take a lot to work out, does it?
Yeah.
Pulling out of a road where you live.
Yeah.
It's not really breaking the law, is it? And there's not many red does floating around in Walton on Thames, is there?
This is Bellfield admitting that he's driving the car in that CCTV image. That one answer, that one response that he's given to that single question, I knew that mattered. I knew that at that point he killed Milly, which probably no one in the country knew to that degree of certainty.
It was over. Collins had his story. He gave the tapes to the police. They now had Bellfield. And maybe, after the Milly Dowler phone hacking scandal, the British tabloid press would redeem itself.
We do need to have an inquiry. It is absolutely disgusting at what has taken place.
Yes, I did put myself at risk, but it wasn't for nothing. You know, I did do something that was worthwhile, and that journalism can be a force for good. It was the defining moment of my entire life, really, that conversation with Bellfield.
In 2016, Surrey police announced that Bellfield had finally admitted to Milly's murder.
It has taken him nearly 14 years,
But now, Levi Bellfield has admitted the abduction, rape and murder of schoolgirl Milly Dowler. Her disappearance, then death in 2002, shocked the country. Milly's relatives said that the confession had been painful to hear. The effect of this information has been devastating for a family which has already had to endure so much.
But only weeks later, he denied the confession. Yet again, it seemed Bellfield was pulling the strings.
They feel powerful if they feel that they are controlling the situation. This is what I'm going to tell you, or I might change my mind and not tell you. It's all about control and power.
Still, the Bellfield nightmare refused to fade away. And anyone who had crossed his path was haunted by the feeling there was more to come out.
No comment.
When I spoke to him, I described it as hunting. And he would go out hunting, looking for females, lone females at bus stops, travelling, walking. He was operating from 2002 all the way through to when he was arrested. And who knows how long before that.
Bellfield had also got under David Collins's skin. The journalist was consumed by a desire to keep investigating. And a secret file he found revealed the huge extent of attacks linked to Bellfield.
I got hold of a police intelligence file. They wanted to look at the scale of Bellfield's offences across the UK. They inputted into the police national computer all women who were victims of blunt force trauma attacks between certain dates. And what they found is that there were clusters of attacks in the different areas where Bellfield knew people.
The secret file's findings were astonishing. Bellfield was suspected of 9 attacks, in addition to a series of rapes and assaults that never made it to court.
There were a total of 24 violent attacks on women. Many of those women didn't know that Bellfield was a suspect.
I believe he was certainly responsible for a lot more attacks than what he was eventually convicted for. We simply didn't have enough evidence at the time.
There's no doubt in my mind that Levi Bellfield was one of the most dangerous predators of women that this country has ever seen. If the Metropolitan Police had not caught him when they did, there is no doubt that he would have gone on to offend. He would have killed more women and he would never, ever have stopped.
He had some uncontrollable urge all the time, you know, to go out and actually go looking for targets, looking for young women preferably, and would then, for no apparent reason at all, it wasn't even always a sexual assault, it was just a brutal attack, a deadly force.
Levi Bellfield was a one-man crime machine. We will never know the full extent of what Bellfield's crimes were.
As the years went on, the spectre of Bellfield hung over Collins. He couldn't shake the belief that there was more to Bellfield's depravity, much more.
Well, I felt like I had insight into him that probably nobody had.
In the months and years that followed, Collins continued investigating stories and rumours about Bellfield.
I was dealing with people in the criminal underworld. I was speaking to scrap dealers. I was speaking to his associates. I was speaking to convicted paedophiles. All these sorts of people that Bellfield used to hang around with.
Collins didn't know it yet, but he was onto something.
A new case landed on my desk. I saw Levi Bellfield's name in the referral and it caught my eye because I was obviously aware that he was in prison for the murder of Milly Dowler.
In 2016, Debbie Wysang was working as a child sexual exploitation manager in Hillingdon, West London. The case on her desk concerned a teenage pregnancy.
The young female was in a relationship with one of Levi Bellfield's associates, so I decided to look into this matter further. It was like this massive web was appearing.
The nation had only recently been exposed to paedophile grooming scandals in Rotherham and Rochdale. For years, organised gangs of men in those northern towns had targeted vulnerable teenage girls, luring them from school gates and children's care homes and plying them with drugs and alcohol before abusing them, raping them, and passing them around. It was a familiar picture to Debbie, who had been instrumental in uncovering child sexual exploitation in her previous job at Peterborough Council.
I discovered that there was 2 gangs operating in one particular road. I pulled all the information together, shared that with Cambridgeshire Police.
A joint investigation between the council and police identified a number of victims.
It was almost like a bubble burst. It then became absolutely massive. That resulted in prosecution of several males. But it wasn't about my success. This was about all of us working together. It was about the bravery of the young females, you know, that had come forward.
Debbie was now worried that something similar could be happening on her new patch in West London.
Debbie was an experienced social worker who had already helped the police uncover a grooming gang in Peterborough. So she had knowledge, she had experience, she was very senior in her role at Hillingdon.
After months of gathering evidence in her spare time, Debbie produced a report on her findings. Its shocking conclusion was that Levi Bellfield was one of a group of men who, between them, were responsible for the grooming and abuse of as many as 17 young women and girls. And, just like in Rotherham, 11 of them were looked after children under local authority care. Debbie was uniquely placed to look into the grooming allegations.
Debbie had access to social services files, victim reports. She had access to confidential information on Bellfield's associates, on certain paedophiles that he knew and associated with.
When I was gathering my information, it was evident that Bellfield was not operating alone. There's information that states that he was with his associates. It was evident that a paedophile ring has been operating, you know, in Hillingdon, around West London for several years.
She claimed her evidence reached back as far as 2002. Her report identified 7 men as subjects of concern, and the most prominent name amongst them was that of Levi Bellfield. Debbie's research connected Bellfield to 2 men who had been convicted of child sex offences. In 2005, Victor Kelly was convicted of offering a 12-year-old girl cocaine in return for sex.
I made the link between Vic Kelly and Levi Bellfield in respect, again, there's links through buying and selling cars, drugs, the door work and the wheel clamping.
The other name Debbie repeatedly came across in connection with Bellfield was Suraj Garu. In 2005, Suraj Garu was jailed for taking a child overnight without lawful authority and for inciting a child to engage in a sexual act. Debbie's report was still secret, but its contents rang true with people who knew Bellfield.
He'd always shout abuse at girls if you were out in the car with him. It was mortifying sometimes. Teenagers, young girls, schoolgirls walking along at bus stops or whatever. Are you a virgin? Oh, fuck you. All that, just shit. He didn't care. He didn't care what other people thought or felt. Why would he care? Sport for him, innit?
On the 20th of October 2017, Debbie handed her report over to Hillingdon Council. Perhaps she thought her work was done and that arrests would now be made. But a whole year later, nothing.
Between October 2017, where I'd made everybody aware they'd got the report, and then Sunday Times comes to me, December 2018. That's a year later.
David Collins, now at the Sunday Times, had been tipped off by an unnamed source about Debbie's secret file, now known as the Hillingdon Report. After speaking with Debbie, he thought this could be another huge story. And on the 30th of December 2018, he went to press. All the other papers picked it up.
I started to really dig into Bellfield as who he was, and it was at that point when I realised it wasn't just murders that Bellfield was doing. You know, he was doing everything.
The Hillingdon Report seemed to confirm Collins's worst suspicions.
I think there is a whole element to Bellfield's character that hasn't been explored there, really. And it is always something that I've wondered about. Was Bellfield part of a systematic grooming gang that used to groom and abuse underage girls?
Debbie had explored this, but now that her work in Hillingdon was in the public eye, she knew she would have more work to do. Recent press coverage of her report had given Debbie hope that more would be done to help victims of grooming. But she remains in the dark about just how far the investigations have gone. In December 2018, in response to newspaper reports, the police issue a statement saying, "A safeguarding report was received from Hillingdon Council. Any allegations of child sexual exploitation contained in the report will be assessed and be investigated where appropriate. Hillingdon Council say, following completion of the report, the information was carefully reviewed, in partnership with the Metropolitan Police, to ensure a timely and proportionate response."
The question that she had was, how far did that go? How many people were involved? How many girls were involved? And I think that question hasn't been answered.
But now that Collins and other papers have made it a national story, the Metropolitan Police reach out to Debbie.
You're invited into a meeting with the Met to then say, oh yes, we have got the report. Oh, we are looking into it. This police officer's been assigned.
For Debbie, who has been working with vulnerable young people for years, action can't come soon enough.
It's so wrong, and this is why it frustrates the life out of me. I signed up to protect children and young people. What's everyone else doing? What has everyone else done? Because I'm struggling to work it out.
In their 2018 statement, Hillingdon Council went on to say that a dedicated police resource was also assigned to review the information. Hillingdon Council's Children's Social Care team conducted numerous safeguarding checks, including liaison with all relevant agencies. But then, with the report and Debbie's name both out in the open, more and more victims start coming forward.
There was no way that I could, I couldn't just say, oh, okay, right, I'll leave it off and go. I knew that I had to help these females.
Debbie continues to work hard for the victims. But she isn't alone. She is being helped by a colleague. Jane isn't her real name. She wants to remain anonymous.
It's a group of men who are very dangerous and continue to this day to pose a threat to anybody that is going to try and come up against them or stop them. I was born in West London, so this is very familiar ground to me. I've worked in and out of Hillingdon Borough for many years. I was a support worker looked after children of 16 to 18-year-old. I've always been aware that there were sexual predators within the borough. What I wasn't aware of is the fact that they were never brought to justice and that they continued to do what they do. I could never imagine, when I first met Debbie, that over our journey together, which is 18 months, how many young people, then children, have been touched by this.
Both women are working on the investigation in their own time. In July 2019, they decide to try the political route to ensure that survivors' voices are being heard. They want a meeting with the local MP. The Member of Parliament for Uxbridge is quite busy that summer.
We needed to send a letter to Boris Johnson because actually Hillingdon, Uxbridge, that is his area, that is his patch. So we felt that it was important that he needed, to be made aware of what was going on in his area.
He agrees to meet them in his constituency, only days before he becomes Prime Minister.
Boris Johnson agreed that he would go back to Hillingdon, so we met him in the Civic Centre.
Debbie says they spoke to Boris Johnson at length. He listened to their concerns.
Just as we was coming out of the Civic Centre, and I'll never forget it, Boris Johnson said to me, he's like, go get him, Debbie.
The Prime Minister did then write to Hillingdon Council to urge it continues to work with the police so that the allegations can be investigated properly. Hillingdon Council say that they have implemented Debbie's initial recommendations and are working with police to review all allegations. Meanwhile, Debbie and Jane continue to work on the case as more young women come forward with allegations.
We started off with 5. We're at 24. We could be talking 50 or 60 young people.
The silhouettes represent the victims or survivors Debbie and Jane have spoken to.
To see it laid out like that is unbelievable. And Debbie's report's got us there. Debbie and I can't know or begin to even imagine where this is going to end when we've got people phoning us on a daily basis. I've got another one. I've got another one. Debbie, will you please listen to this lady? It's going on and on and on. Where does this end? But it all began at the same beginning.
Listening to all the allegations coming in takes its toll.
I will continue to be strong for these ladies because somebody's got to do it. They've been let down for so long. These young ladies are coming up on a daily basis singing the same tune.
Yeah.
All we wanted was to be heard. If I never thought there would be closure or some level of justice, I wouldn't be doing it.
And now, with the support of Debbie and Jane, survivors are being heard. And they are providing new detail about the dark history of a serial killer. And now, one of these women is willing to talk on camera for the very first time.
I did just want to thank you for talking to me today. I am extremely grateful, and I hope you know that.
I'm very grateful for all you've done for me, and I hope you know that.
Like other survivors, she got in touch when she read about Debbie's Hillingdon report in the papers. She had recognised names from her youth.
In this report, they was all put together. I just got a fright, do you know what I mean? Like, they've never really been put out on mainstream media as being part of the same uniform ring. I was just like, this can't be happening. This cannot be happening. Because, like, over the years, you'd see, like, they'd put something out about Levi, then they put something out about Vic. And then I was, like, reading this thing, thinking, like, this is an actual social worker that's written this.
Now in prison, Victor Kelly, or Vic, was one of the people Debbie identified as being part of the same gang as Bellfield.
So when I first come into contact with Vic, I would have been about 13. I'd run away to somewhere and he'd pulled up in his Mitsubishi Shogun. That's when I felt, and it was literally like a brief meeting. The boy's house that I was at was in the back of the car. So Vic was like in the wing mirror trying to make eye contact with me. And I was already warned by this boy not to take the pound that he would have offered, yeah? So I didn't take the pound, but I did feel really uncomfortable with the constant him looking in that mirror, trying to make eye contact with me.
Vic Kelly was well known in the area.
Yeah, and that he liked kids. He always had a stream of young girls around him, do you know what I mean?
And how old do you think these other young girls were, in your view?
I can categorically tell you, from 16 down to as young as 10.
Wow.
A year later, when she was in a children's home, someone else was lurking in the shadows.
I was coming up to about 14 when I was in that home. It was always a case of stay away from him, fucking weirdo. So you avoided Levi at all costs. Like if he pulled up to bus stops, because that's what he used to do when he used to see, you know, girls at bus stops and stuff like that, you'd see it.
But ever the manipulator, Bellfield often made others do his dirty work, and they would target the most vulnerable in the community.
It's like they just knew where these hotspots were. They knew where, they just knew, because it wasn't like one area that they used to target. It was like the borough and beyond. You know, the girls would be supplied with weed and coke and alcohol. They used to target, you know, the ones where we never had a lot, which we didn't. We didn't have a lot. And these would be taken back to Levi, and Levi do what he fucking wanted with them.
What's your understanding of what happened, you know, to the girls?
They were taken to a flat in Hamworth, and they were drugged with GHB, probably retinol, and they just all took turns on them, and it was all filmed. It was all filmed, and they were used as these objects, and they all took turns on these girls.
Another dark day stands out in her memory.
I remember you'd be summoned to Vic's flat. I went there one day, yeah. I walked from the front room, I walked down the hallway, pushed open the door, and well, oh my God, there was a whole heap of them in the front room with like loads of girls.
And how old do you think these girls were?
14. 13, 14.
So we've got Bellfield's associates in a property with young girls.
Yeah.
One day she snapped and called Bellfield out.
I out and out told him he was a paedophile, and oh my God, I don't know how he didn't kill me.
What did Levi say when you called him a paedophile?
Just stood there like smirking, like, do you know what I mean? Just stood there smirking. Scary to know that I was standing in front of that man, calling him paedophiles and God knows what else, and alive to tell the tale. Like, it actually makes your blood run cold when you're like, oh my God, he was looking at me like that because he knew he was going to kill me.
So from what happened, you know, as a child, and you're now an adult, and those, you know, associates are still having a massive impact on your daily life.
Yeah. And probably will for the rest of my life. You couldn't get away. You could not get away from these people. They controlled everything. No matter where you went, thinking you've got away from them and they're not going to find you, oh, you were found. You were found. I can't leave my house. I can't leave my house. I'm literally scared of my own shadow. I have flashbacks. I wake up in the morning feeling like I've been re-attacked. It's my last breath, I'm telling you. I'm sick of feeling like a victim. I'm sick of feeling like I should have known better or whatever. I'm just sick of it. And I can't be the only one that's sick of it. I mean, you've got girls that are so messed up that I don't even know if there's any return for them girls. And we, the ones that can, let's just do it.
If there was a group activity like that, then it's more than possible, more than likely, that there are other offenders who have never been brought to justice and who are out there now doing exactly the same thing, unchecked.
Levi Bellfield felt he controlled everyone who came into his orbit. His partners, the press, even police. But he couldn't control himself. We'll probably never know how many other violent and fatal attacks he carried out before the 3 murders he was convicted of. Justice may never be served for some victims. But there is hope for another group of women.
I will never give up on the females that have come forward.
And with encouragement and support, the women who have been silenced will be heard at last.
What message would you like to send out to other females?
Please come forward. No matter how little you think it is, just please come forward. Because if we don't say anything, if we don't, all of us as a collective, they're going to get away with it.